In this video, I'm going to show you how to install foam board insulation against your basement wall with horizontal fire blocking. So we're insulating the basement now, and I'm using XPS Foamboard, which is this blue styrofoam type insulation. So it's got an R value of 5 per inch of thickness. So this is 2 inches thick. That means it's an R10. Now I chose this type of insulation because once it's against your foundation wall, I think if it's at least an inch thick, it provides a vapor barrier. So I don't need to really worry about moisture vapor, water vapor coming in for the concrete and then causing mold. So this is one of the methods I'm using to keep the basement dry and mold free. And so to install it, all you need to do is pretty much glue it against the foundation. So I'm going to show you what that looks like in a minute, because there is a couple tricks I picked up to keep it flat until the glue dries. But as I go, I need to add horizontal fire blocking. So in one of our previous videos, we added the vertical fire blocking around the entire perimeter of the basement. So around the entire perimeter of the basement, again, I need to add horizontal fire blocking. And it's pretty much a piece of fire insulated material, fire rated material that takes it all, it goes from the frame wall back to the foundation. So I actually need to install some vertical strips here from the floor to the ceiling behind the insulation. They can't sit in front of it. It's actually going to go all the way back to the foundation wall. And what that does is it prevents fire. If this ever melts, it kind of prevents fire from driving down the whole wall. And so I need to, by code, or at least by my local township requirements, I need to install it every 10 feet. Now, since I'm using 4x8 sheets of XPS insulation, I'm actually just going to do it every 8 feet. So it's more frequent, so it meets code. It's above code. But otherwise, I'd have to install 2 boards 4 feet wide and then another 2-foot half section. So rather than cut the boards every 3rd board, I'm just going to install the fire blocking every 8 feet, which makes it easier. So to make this, so this is how I'm going to do the fire blocking. I'm using the same material. Okay, a piece of 1/2 inch thick PyroGuard or CDX plywood, and this is the same 1/2 inch thick material I'm using for the vertical fire blocking, and I'm going to basically stick it down here. So just so you know, I've notched a 2 inch or 1.5 inch wide and then 2 inch or so notch in it. And I've made these 4 inches. So this is a 4 inch wide strip. And what this will do is it'll sit against the insulation like that. Okay, so what I can do is I can add some fire expanding foam on either side of this to seal it against the concrete. And then the notch in the bottom will ride against the joist, which will be pressure treated when I start framing this out. So having the notch in there gives me some place to put the plate for the wall. And then I've notched it at the top as well, which also gives me a spot for my 2x4 that I'll use for the top plate. And so again, I'll just put fire expanding foam on either side of it. I'll screw it into the top fire blocking board, and then I'll leave it loose here at the bottom until I actually end up putting my pressure treated board down. And so what I need to do is every 2 boards of insulation, I'm going to have one of these vertical strips, and then another 2 boards of insulation, and another one of these strips. And then I also have to fire block in the corners. And so when I get to the corner, to the end of the wall, I'm going to have one of these, and it'll actually go I'll do from the wall all the way out to the front of the 2x4 for that one. But for these, they just need to tie in. And so what I can do is, once I have my 2x4 wall, this board will actually screw into or fasten to one of the vertical 2x4 studs. and that'll give me continuity from the front frame wall all the way back to the foundation. Okay, so let's get started. I've got my vertical fireboard, my horizontal board, which is really kind of vertical. And I've got my fire expanding foam. So this is how, excuse me, this is how I'm going to do this. I'm going to put a bead of this in here. Yep, you got to hold it upside down. Put a bead of this against the, okay, put a bead of that all the way top to bottom of the insulation board. I've got a 2x4 flat against the floor, and I got my notched Fireblock board. I'm going to put that down and pretty much press that into the fire blocking foam. All right, so this is the process I'm going to use. So now on this side of the board, I'm going to put another bead of this stuff. All right, get some down on the bottom. So it's not perfect. I'm not too worried about that because this, I'm going to go back and add more fire expanding foam later. So now I've got this board in here. I need to secure it and fasten it in, but I could do that later once I get my framing in. So for now, I just want to kind of glue it to the wall using the foam. And now I'm going to come on the other side of it with my next piece of XPS board. I've gone ahead and back buttered the back of this XPS foam board with foam board glue. You have to use specific XPS or foam board insulation adhesive. There's so much dust in this air right now. So I'm going to go get that, push that against here, against the wall, and that'll squeeze this fireboard against the XPS insulation, and we'll get this set up here. So let me go get the XPS. All right, now here's the real trick. This is where this video is going to pay off. This foam board has some wave to it, okay? It's a little bit it's cupped a little bit from just being wherever the hell it was, and it doesn't want to stay flat against the wall. And so you can tame it against the wall a couple ways. One way I've seen online is to drill through it all the way into your foundation for a couple inches, and you insert these plastic clips, all right? And so you just hammer the plastic clip in. They've got a big fat washer head, and they basically keep this foam board to the concrete either as the fastener or until the glue dries, okay? But they're permanent, and you leave them in there. What I'm going to do is a little easier. I'm going to take some 2x4s. They're cut a little long, and I'm going to pin them right against that fire block board, okay, and right against the edge of this XPS. All right, so it is cut from floor to ceiling, so it's the same height as it's sitting on a 2x, and it makes contact with the fire block. So I'm not going to, this isn't like a piece of, I'm not framing with this right now. But what it does is it squeezes the XPS board against the foundation. And if it's too loose, you can always shim it. You can make it a little loose and then shim it at the top so it's nice and snug. So I'm going to do that on the left side, on the right side, and that'll push this XPS board. Here's my other one. All right. Good. I'll probably add some shims on this side because the bottom board is sticking out a bit. But that is the process. So that's how you do your horizontal fire blocking. At least that's how I'm going to do it. With the fire expanding foam, cut a strip so it goes from floor to ceiling, and it incorporates notches around the sill plate for your frame wall, for the top and for the bottom boards. And then your XPS insulation butts up against it, XPS or styrofoam insulate, whatever it is, insulating board, foam board glue in the back of it. I cut it to height so it fits, and it just goes to the top of the foundation wall. And then I'm holding it against the wall by pinning it with some vertical 2x4s, just sort of pushed into place through their own interference fit. And so I've done this for the first 2 boards. I didn't need to do any fire blocking there yet. I will when I build the next wall out. I'll have to put a piece of fire blocking going that way. But going this way, I can put another piece of XPS here and go down, and that'll be it. So this video is a bit chaotic, a lot going on. I'm just kind of actually doing this for the first time. Usually I walk through this once or twice before I demonstrate it, but kind of time constrained, I want to get this in. So if you have any questions, if you think this process works, you can like this video, subscribe to the channel, and in the next video, after I'm done insulating the entire perimeter wall using this method, I'm going to start framing out the perimeter wall. So we'll be laying down a pressure-treated board, ram setting that into the floor, and then putting our top plate on and studding out the wall. So got a lot to do. It's going to be fun. All right, see you later.